We're here to send a message to Ned Lamont to let him know that we had enough. We had enough. Too long, black women, brown women, and men are dying. You see, the problem is that they're talking about the pandemic that started last year. But we have a pandemic a long time ago. This is not new. Pandemic is not new to us. Because I work 3 jobs and I'm barely surviving. And I work 3 jobs. So when we cannot buy food, we can't pay our bills, we have to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. And we are tired. We are tired. When their pandemic came, we didn't stop working, we showed up. They stayed home in their mansion and they worked from home. We could not do patient care from home, so we showed up. And the fact that we showed up, they need to show up for us by paying us a livable wage. That's what they need to do. Show up for paying a livable wage. You see, we say Black Lives Matter. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we are proud to say Black Lives Matter. Because our fellow dying on the street is not because when they go to the doctor, $40 for copay, they don't have it. They can't afford it while working 100 hours. So we are here today to send a message to DSS and to send a message to the governor that Black Lives Matters. And we demand that he pay us a livable wage. And we are asking him, take your knee out of our neck. Enough is enough.
Brothers and sisters, my name is Rev Barber. I am president of SEIU 1199 New England. And I'm delighted to welcome everybody to today's conversation, which is Juneteenth, Black Women Care, a celebration of the work that Black women are leading all over the country, particularly in healthcare around racial justice. We are fresh off the heels of a victory here in Connecticut led by nursing home and group home workers, long-term care workers, majority women, probably 80% women and 80% Black and brown women who just concluded absolutely amazing contracts that are lifting minimum starting wages to $20 an hour for all workers with defined benefit pensions for all. And equally important, some of the strongest racial justice language we believe anywhere in the country, with mandatory reporting to make sure that disciplines are not being handed out in a way that is punishing Black and brown workers disproportionately. We won the right to be able to meet with management when workers are being racially profiled in some of the white cities and towns around Connecticut on their way to work. And we won Juneteenth as a paid holiday for almost 10,000 workers. So we're just very, very proud of the work that some of the freedom fighters in our local led. And we're honored today to be alongside a number of amazing women who I'm looking forward to having in dialogue and conversation with today. They are Athena Jones, who's a home care worker from Virginia and a leader in Virginia SEIU 512. Gail Rogers, a McDonald's worker from Florida, who's a leader in the Fight for 15 campaign. Mercedes Taylor, an airport worker in Houston and a leader in SEIU Texas. And Nse Ufo, who is the chief executive officer of the New Georgia Project and its affiliate, the New Georgia Project Action Fund, which helped to spearhead the 2 Senate campaigns including Raphael Warnock's victory. So delighted to have all of you today. I wonder if we can kick things off with you, Gail. As an employee at the second largest employer in the world, McDonald's, making only $9.60 an hour, can you tell us about what Juneteenth means to you?
Well, Juneteenth means a lot to me. It goes far back due to slavery in 1862. I mean, it's been a struggle for us all. And come up to today, yet I do know that it should be a national day for us because we work so hard. As me, as a Black woman, I am struggling each and every day for my cost of living as well as my living arrangement here where I'm sitting right now. It's nothing that I would like to have later on in the days. I can't afford health care. I can't afford a car, insurance, or my maintenance. We need more money in our pocket. We're handing out, we're serving these places, these corporations, franchise I work for. We filling their pockets up with money. Our pockets as well need to be full of money also. We need money so we can, do things the right way and not have a struggle. $15 as well mean a lot to me. Meaning I'm 61 years old, yet I'm struggling. I'm not gonna be able to retire because of the job that I have. But yet I will be able to start saving for the time that I do know I have here. It has put a hold on my living situation as far as now. I have COVID, they don't cover me. I take off days, and listen, I am a Black woman, I am. And it's just such a struggle. We don't get nothing for the job that we do at these places, at fast food, or whatever service that we're working at right now. We need more to come from this. Everyone that can hear the sound of my voice, support us in our daily dues, what we're trying to go out there and what we're trying to get. We're trying to benefit ourselves. We, has done so much. I have marched, I have yelled, I have protested. I'm not tired yet. I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing now for Fight for 15 and the union and for us Black ladies.
Ms. Gail, thank you for your courage. 10 years ago, $15 an hour was a dream. People looked at us like we're crazy when we talked about fast food workers or most service workers making $15 an hour. But in a lot of the country, it's become a reality. So don't give up the fight, because $15 an hour and a union can be reality with leadership from freedom fighters like yourself. And thank you for all of your work.
It's gonna be reality. We're gonna get those $15.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mercedes, you moved from Florida to Texas decades ago. Would you tell us the significance of that move for you and for your family?
I came from Florida after having worked almost 25 years in the legal field as legal secretary. In 1997, I was making $19.95 an hour in a law firm. Of course, the cost of living in Florida is higher at that time. When I came to Houston, I was aware of that. I actually came to work with my sister, who was a realtor here in Houston. I was going to work with her, but I came here and my sister was sick, so that changed a lot of things. But I came from making $44,000 to $17,000 my first year here. I had a daughter at Spelman. I had two young boys, 10 and 11. I lost everything. And I just don't think that it should be that much of a disparity. I was working at a school. I had to live in the school for a little while. But first of all, I want to commend the ladies who, are on here. Athena, who is a healthcare worker, and also Miss Gail. Athena, the healthcare worker, I was a certified nurse's aide since the 70s. I went out to try to do that. These are tough jobs. I went out to do it. I lasted 30 days. The same thing about McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's as a young person. I lasted a little over a month. These are difficult jobs. And what does it say about a country that does not care? They're difficult jobs and they're important jobs. If our healthcare workers, our caregivers, and the people in the food service industry walked out today, where would we be? They're holding up this nation, and yet they're regarded as, their jobs are regarded as menial labor. Just what the word infers is mean. It makes it sound negative, and it is negative in the connotation. However, these are important jobs. Just imagine if all these people walked out. You're talking about they take care of sick people, they take care of the elderly. What does that say about a country that holds no regard for its citizens? I also want to talk about working at the airport. When I first went to the airport, that was a second job for me. I'm 70 years old. Why do I have to work two jobs to maintain even a minimum level of living? That's ridiculous. I cannot even think of retiring. $11 an hour, are you serious? And yet I make more than the wheelchair attendants who are making $7.25 an hour, and they work hard. So yes, they get tips, but they're not always getting tips. And you're talking about $7.25. I looked at the airport wheelchair attendants last night. They stayed there till 3 a.m. having come from 3 p.m. That's not fair. And then you go home and you have to turn around and report again the next day. So I joined the union because I saw a lot of disparity, a lot of inconsistencies. And I'm so grateful to be a part of the union because they're very serious about making a difference in the lives of people. I also want to talk a little bit about Juneteenth. I had never heard of Juneteenth, having come from Florida. And when I came to Texas and they were saying Juneteenth and how it took two and almost a half years before people were free. What? You mean Mississippi, who we know that it's many atrocities that went on with Black and brown people. Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, their slaves knew that they were free, and it took 2.5 years. Texas is a very wealthy state. Not only were we late being free back then, but we're still actually not free. The kind of money we're getting paid is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm glad to be a part of the union. It's a bittersweet holiday, sweet in the fact that it's finally getting recognition, but bitter that it would take this long. So I want to wish everybody a happy Juneteenth, and I'm grateful to be a part of this forum.
Ms. Mercedes, thank you for those words and for sharing your story. I think that what you just expressed is really, for every Black woman that is in an essential job, what people have been through, not just in the last year, but in the last decades, is the experience of being told that we're essential, but treated like we're expendable. Okay. For our membership in Connecticut, in nursing homes, in group homes, in home care, people labored month after month, taking care of the elderly, taking care of the disabled, in many cases with absolutely no PPE whatsoever. Thousands of our members got sick. They risked their lives. They held the hands of the dying. They got sick. They brought the virus home to their families. There are 24 members of my union, our local here in Connecticut, who have lost their lives fighting this pandemic. They've lost an equal number of family members, okay? Parents, siblings that live with them. And we decided several months ago, we're done with being told that we're essential, but treated like we're expendable. If you're going to talk about respecting us, put it in people's checks, give people the rights and the dignity and the respect that they deserve. And thank God that we had a fighting union for people to be able to stand up. We know the names of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, but we don't know the names of all the essential workers who gave their lives feeding us, taking care of us when we were ill, delivering our mail and our packages from Amazon over the last years, who got sick and who died. And so having a union fundamentally in this past year has been more than just an extra nickel or a quarter or 15. It's been being able to say my life matters,
That's
that
right.
Black lives matter, that brown lives matter, that essential workers are not expendable, that we need to be treated with the respect and the dignity that every human being should have as a birthright. But right now is really only guaranteed to the wealthiest among us. Okay. And then we're told to act like these things are not going on. But we're done with that. We're done with that. And most of all, we are, of course, also, fighting to make sure that our country finally becomes the democracy that it claims to be. We had to create a holiday to celebrate emancipation for that to take place. But folks like Sister Inse and others with the New Georgia Project helped to make that one step closer with the Senate victories in Georgia. And so I want to pass things to Inse next. It's been an incredibly difficult year, but the reality is that the fights that you've been leading in Georgia have been going on for a very, very long time. Can you tell us about what's next for the New Georgia Project?
Yeah. So I feel like we're probably best known as a large scale sort of voter registration effort, but we're so much more. To date, we've helped over 500,000 young people, Black and Latino folks, register to vote in all 159 of Georgia's counties. And so I feel like when people hear that number, I mean, yes, there's no doubt in my mind that the 11,000 vote margin between the successful Biden-Harris presidential campaign and the losing Trump-Pence presidential campaign could be attributed to Black people, and particularly Black women, showing up and showing out as a part of the elections. And not because they have some sort of allegiance to a particular party, but because they have a very clear vision about the kind of Georgia that our families deserve to live in, and the kind of conditions that we deserve to work, live, love, raise our babies in. Period, point blank, full stop. And so while we are very pleased with the impact of our organizing and the impact that it's had on electoral outcomes in Georgia, voting is a tool, right? That we are trying to win. And like win for real for our families. And moral victories are cool, but we want wins that people recognize as wins. So what's next for us? The minimum wage in Georgia is still $5.15 an hour. It's below the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. You know, they're building 2 brand new nuclear power plants in Georgia in Black communities, and there haven't been any new nuclear power plants built anywhere in America in over 30 years, right? That we are talking about, we don't have Medicaid expansion, that there are people, there's 159 counties in Georgia. Georgia has the second highest number of counties in the country, second only to Texas. And Texas got, 30 million people. There's more people in Texas. It's the same number of people who live in Texas that live in the entire country of Canada, right? And then, so there's a lot of people in Texas. And so I flagged that Georgia has 159 counties because what that also means is you got 159 kings and queens of elections. Because what we all know is that elections basically are managed on the county level, even when you have, a good Secretary of State or a trash Secretary of State. So anyway, I think that, because the entire country and definitely the folks in power in Georgia saw what was possible when a multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-generational progressive majority shows up and then has their votes and then makes sure that their votes count, that we are a battleground state. And that the rural Black Belt are the battleground counties inside of our battleground state. And so what I would say is what's next is one, boldly, aggressively, forcefully fighting for and pushing for an increase in the minimum wage. don't want to hear 725. I don't want to hear 1010. I low key feel like we're already past the time where 15 was sufficient as a minimum wage, not low key, high key, past the time where $15 was a sufficient minimum wage for the average American worker. But that's what our priority is in this moment to secure voting rights, because ultimately we believe that the right to vote is preservative of all of our other rights. And so the ability to fight for an increase in wage, the ability to fight for all the things that our families deserve, flow through our ability to participate in our democratic process. And so HR 1 and HR 4 turning up in West Virginia next week. The week after that, we'll be in Washington, D.C. We'll come to Texas if you invite us. I heard that they're having a special legislative session because they're trying to make it illegal for Black and brown folks to vote in Texas too. And so that is where we are right now, training activists, training organizers, building the cavalry, and fighting for the America that our families deserve.
Wonderful. And thank you for your leadership. It's just an amazing example of a way in which, a fight to change one state ultimately changed the future for the entire country. And it wouldn't have been possible without, the leadership of you and so many other grassroots leaders that I know are connected to your leadership and your organization that you've helped to bring forward. So thank you. Do we have Athena?
Yes, I'm here.
Athena, I'm so glad that you're able to join us. Can you share your story and tell us a little bit about what's happening today in Virginia?
So sure. Hi, my name is Athena Jones. I'm a home care worker. I've been a part of SEIU since about 2006. So please don't do the math. Everybody's 21 forever. But so some of the things that we're working on in the state of Virginia, actually, we've had a lot of wins. But this has happened through hard work of home care workers, right? One of the things that I often say is that we fight for home care workers on behalf of home care workers, and we're winning and fighting on behalf of home care workers for home care workers. A part of being a home care worker, and people think about home care as this magnanimous job. You do it selflessly. It's done because you have the Mother Teresa, is shining on you, and you do it because out of the goodness of your heart. But what that mindset does is it relegates your job to a job of servitude, making you no longer equal to the justice and the American dream that you should be allotted because you have a job in the United States. And so what it does is it creates this foundation where people are able to build on the opportunity to have a home care worker or have service workers within the United States, but the service workers and the home care workers do not reap the benefit to be able to dream beyond paycheck to paycheck, to be able to dream beyond where am I supposed to get health insurance, to be able to find why don't I have sick days, right? But in the state of Virginia, home care workers have been able to fight for PPEs. We fought and we won that. We were able to fight for sick days. We've been fighting for sick days since 2006. And in 2021, we finally got sick days. Now, if we look at that, we have to look at the history and the institutions that were created to allow this to happen now, right? I mean, I heard you talking about voting. There was a reason why our forefathers deliberately excluded voting out of the Constitution as long as they did. And then they relegated it to the states' rights. Because if it was on a federal level, then it would be mandated on a federal level for everyone. But we had to accept the piecemeal standards because they didn't want to give it to us equally under the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to which we were allotted as citizens. Now, we don't even want to address the fact that there was a time frame post-Emancipation Proclamation, which was only applied to the people who were within the Confederacy, that the slaves that were fighting within the Confederacy. It was only allotted for them, right? Which is why states like Texas had the liberty to not even have to worry about freeing their slaves because they never fell to the Union soldiers. And so then this left this wide berth in space. Well, we don't have to acknowledge what has happened. And it wasn't until 2 years later, June 19th, that then we were 1865, that a general, I believe his name was Galveston, said 250,000 people plus were able to be freed. 2 years later, 2 months after the Civil War. So if you think that the current system that we're fighting today is not unusual, I am sorry to say it is consistent. And so what we do in the state of Virginia is we continue, and there was a time that, let's acknowledge the fact of history of what Virginia was, right? We were a slave nation. We were it. And now because of unions, now because of home care workers and other service workers demanding and saying enough is enough, we have now changed Virginia from being really red, sort of purpley indigo. What are we doing here? To now we can guarantee that when we get home care workers out there fighting for home care workers, aligning with allies, we are now a state where we are blue. Who would have said that when 1865, years later, after the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment, and one of the first things they put on the books was making being free as a Black person illegal, just standing around, you're allowed to go to prison for that. That now that same state then declares, well, we're no longer going to tolerate that. That would not have happened if people, specifically home care workers, workers of color, service workers, didn't decide to say enough was enough and stand up and be counted, because we can't allow someone else to fight our battles for us. Let me say that again. We cannot allow someone else to subjugate us and fight our battles for us, because they don't know our story. They don't know our struggle. And for the most part, we need to be our own voice in this struggle and fight. And so that's what we've been able to do in Virginia. There are so many things that we continue to demand. We were able to get sick days. We were able to get PPEs. How many home care workers got hazardous pay? Folks in the state of Virginia did. We got that because we fought for it. We got that because not only did we fight for it, we supported legislators that were pro-worker, pro-union legislators. And so now all the hard work from 2006 to 2021 is now paying off. Slowly chipping away from that supremacy that was created deliberately, not for the people that sit on this panel today and that are hearing our voices today. It wasn't meant for you. Well, guess what? We're no longer going to tolerate that, because it is meant for us. When you talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that's for us too. When we talk about equal pay and equal protection under the law, that's for us too. And we're not going to sit back and demand and hope that somebody, by their magnanimous ability to be in the positions that they're in, we're just going to automatically accept them to do the right thing. Because if that was true, our forefathers would have done it. Because they knew we were here on the land, because they brought us here. Let's talk about that. And so, again, the history that we're talking about from step one, from 1690 to 1863 to 1865, all the way to 1965, 1972, now to 2021, we have a president now that speaks the language. And I'll say this, because I don't want to take up everyone's time, that a part of what we do is we bring light to the situation. We become the totems of change for what needs to happen within the United States. And so those who are there, you have decided to be a totem of change, because you're no longer going to tolerate being in the darkness that someone else put you in. Light your candle, light your fire, and lead, because someone else is depending on that. We then take these lights and build a mountain so that in the future, when people look back, they see the light of change that we were a part of. They see the legacy that we created, because we had to build on that mountain of light. It wasn't always that bright, because we were there in 2006 when we didn't have anything. So then I tell people to continue to carry your light. Continue to be the totem of change. Continue to be the vessels, because we need you in this fight. Thank God we now have a president who carries the light, who carries the totem of change. We have a vice president that carries the light and carries the totem of change. Know your light. Know the change that you demand, because you don't have to worry about it. We're going to be in the fight with you, but we want you there. That's what we're doing in Virginia, sir. That's what we're doing in Virginia.
What a powerful group of women to be together with. My God. thank you, Athena, for talking about that in that way, because so much of the condition of what Black people go through on a day-to-day basis is that our suffering is invisible to the powers that be. Our suffering is in the dark. We know what it is to have people that we love that are brutalized and shot down by police. We know what it is for people that we care about to not be able to get access to medical care. We know what it is to see people that we care about who are suffering day to day from poverty and having to go without just the basic fundamentals of what human beings need to live and love and laugh and breathe and worship and do the basic normal things that, again, should be a birthright of every single human being. And that is a condition that we are in until we start to organize, until we start to build power, until we're part of a fighting organization that can start to translate our dreams. 15 was a dream. Voting rights at one point in time was a dream. But through our organizations, we can start to make those realities. So maybe I just wonder if in moving to rap, we could all just envision on this Juneteenth, a year from now, we're going to be celebrating this holiday again. What dreams can we help to make a reality through our organizations, where we sit, where we stand, where we fight? What dreams can we help to make a reality in the next calendar year? Anybody have an idea?
In the next calendar year, I would love to see, because of the acknowledgement of the important role that the fight for emancipation played in the history of our country, that it creates an opening for us to have serious conversations and for there to be legislative proposals about reparations for chattel slavery in the Americas. That if you acknowledge that Juneteenth is a big deal and the fight for emancipation is a big deal, and you're really committed to truth and reconciliation and the healing that's required for us to actually move forward, then you have to have a conversation about repair. How do we repair harm and create the conditions for reparations?
All right, thank you. Ms. Gail, you took your mic off mute, so I know you're ready. What's your dream?
My dreams is that we do make this a national holiday where the Black women in our society get recognized, Black of color, Black and brown, as I would say, to let them know how hard we work. We deserve this. We earn this day. We earn that day. That's basically it.
Thank you. Thank you. Athena, yes. Go ahead. You're ready.
Hey, I was thinking, and I love what she said, reparations were given when the slaves were freed, but the reparations weren't given to the slaves, they were given to the slave owners. And so I agree reparations is a big deal. I also feel like, I kept asking, why aren't, we talk about the Democratic Party and what we've done, and a lot of the advances happen because of women of color. Can we sit on that for a moment? Can we acknowledge the fact of all the hard work that women of color have subverted that would have been a national disaster if we didn't come out and vote? And so I believe now is a time more than ever that I would love to see a coalition, and I could be, let me know, teach me, a coalition of Black women that are moving from home care workers, service workers to legislators. Right? I know the seat she should run. I know the Emily's list. I got that. But where is the coalitions specifically geared? Because that's where the movement is. I said, we can't expect somebody else to fight our battles. And the fact that the Democratic Party steeps their life on the vote of a Black woman. Well, now we need to be at the table, or we need to make our own tables, people.
That's right.
We need to make our own tables. And now is the time to build that table.
Yes.
Thank you, Athena. And Ms. Mercedes, your dream for the next year.
Excuse me. It's very emotional for me. I really can't speak. I'm going to start crying. So I can't speak on it, but I'm just moved by the dynamics of this whole forum And the plan, I feel very positive about the future. I really do. I think a lot of great things are going to come out of this. That's all I can say. It's very emotional for me.
Ladies, I'm just so privileged to be with you. The last year has been, I'm getting emotional, I'm sorry. The last year has been hell for a lot of us. We just lost somebody today, this morning, on the staff of our union. And it's not always that tragedies turn into movements, but I don't know that there's any movement that ever started without there being a tragedy that created the fire in the belly for people to demand something better. And my dream is just that all of us as people whose ancestors came in the bottom of somebody's slave ship, that we know our worth and that we act like it. Because together we can change history. We can change our communities, we can change our country, and we can change the world with people like us and like each other.
Yes.
And I just thank you. Okay. One love. One love. Don't forget, the hashtag is Black Women Care. Now we're going to hear from Rev Barber.
What I want to say something about today on this Juneteenth, I've really been struggling with it to some degree. And I come out of a faith tradition, and we talk about this in the Poor People's Campaign, the National Call for a Moral Revival, and also in the Repairers of the Breach that I lead, that really doesn't allow me to use the word celebration as much as use the word holy days or commemorations or convocations or consecrations. And I've been thinking about, can you cut this air off? I've been thinking about the scripture that says in the Bible, in the book of Joshua, where Joshua commanded the priest to go down in the Jordan River and to take 12 stones and take 12 stones out of the river, Jordan, and then to stack them on the side of the river. And somebody said, well, what does all this mean? And Joshua said, it means that in the future, when your children ask their parents, what do these stones mean? You can tell them Israel crossed the Jordan on dry ground, for the Lord your God dried up the Jordan before you until you had crossed over. In other words, what the stones were meant to do was to be a historical reminder of how God is always on the side of liberation, so that as the children continued to face other challenges, they would look back at that day and those stones and understand that they could remember, but it must always be the kind of remembrance that says to them, because you remember is the reason you can never relax or retreat when it comes to standing against injustice. And in a real sense, I hope that that's really what this Juneteenth, I want to say commemoration is really about. It should be a time when we reconsecrate ourselves. We remember, but we only remember because we are clear. The remembrance helps to make it clear to us that in the face of current realities, we can never relax or retreat.
Y'all, can we give it up for these amazing ladies here? All right, let's be honest. Y'all know that if we did some of them moves, our secretariat and our lower lumbar would be out of joint just a little bit. But we want to just, today's a celebration, right? We talk about the home care, homecoming. We got folks here celebrating like we have been on the football field. But we have had to fight some stuff, right? We have had to combat things that we felt like we should have had and we should have won. But guess what? This year we won a whole lot of stuff. Yes, we did. All right, let me let you know. My name is Athena Jones. Okay, first of all, we need to do that again because some people knew, now you know. Okay, thank you, y'all. My name is Athena Jones. I'm so happy, thank you. All right, because I got the poo pie today. All right. Girl, right there. So what we're talking about today is not only is this a celebration, but we're also talking about why we're here, right? Can somebody let me know what today is? Woo, woo. Can we get that again? What's today? That's right. And so the reason why we're here to celebrate is because there was a time, instead of us dancing in the fields, we were working in the fields. Instead of us celebrating for the victories that we won, we were out there picking crops. We were out there taking care of other people's children without the respect and admiration that we deserved as human beings. Not today, y'all. Not tomorrow either, y'all. Not the next day or the day after that, y'all. We're not going to tolerate that anymore. But what we're going to talk about today is what we are going to do. We're going to talk about the legacy that has been created because of Juneteenth and for some of the stuff that you guys put in order. You see, Juneteenth couldn't have happened without a union presence. Juneteenth couldn't have happened without home care workers, service workers, janitors, people who they look over, who they expected to continue to work in the field. We got out of the field, y'all. We left the field. And then we decided to create some policy. We decided to do some legislation, and we decided to elect pro-union, pro-worker, elected officials that represent what we believe in. And so I want to first of all give it up for our dope DJ. Girl, you've been keeping it down. I'm streaming this on social media, so if you're on Instagram, Facebook, Vimeo, and I know there may be some of my folks out there, MySpace folks. No judgment, but hi. No judgment. So you can get us hashtag Black Women Care. So I want you guys to take pictures. I want you guys to be the videographers and post it and tweet it online because we want people to know that we're here to celebrate this. And then also hashtag Care is Essential. I mean, is there any explanation for that? What we do, does it matter? Okay, y'all, I'm worried about myself. Hello? What we do here, does it matter? It matters so much that now the President of the United States is saying, let's have conversations with home care workers. Let's have conversations and talk about it on a national scale to say they need to be included in the conversation. That's what we're talking about. So you better hashtag Care is Essential because what we do works. What we do matters. I wanted to say a quote today. It says, home care workers have always been an essential part of the system and structure of the United States. The system needed people who could enable the larger structure. Because let me remind you, the United States would have never been built if they didn't have the people who were working in the fields, who were indentured servants, who didn't have equality, who weren't seen as equal. They would have never had America. Girl, she said, we built this jank for free. But guess what? Now they're going to have to pay. So the catch was that no one gave us the credit that we deserved. It undermined our ability to be fully realized humans. Let me say that again. Every time a legislator says we don't deserve equality, it undermines our essence of being equal humans under the structure of the United States. We're not going to tolerate that, are we? We're not going to tolerate that. Enough is enough. And so what we're going to talk about the wins that we've had. 2021, home care workers, we used to be Local 5. Local 5 we were back in the day before we were at the, girl, I got the brown t-shirts. I do. We got sick days this year. We got overtime pay. We got hazard pay. We got PPEs, orientation, increasing waivers. This is done because of what each and every one of you decided to say was enough was enough. I want to be seen as an equal person within the system and structure, and by golly, I'm going to do everything within my power to do it. And y'all, you did it. You did it. And so before we go on a little bit, I want to give you just a little brief history of what Juneteenth is. So we talk about what happened in Texas, and it took 2.5 years for people who were slaving the fields to realize they were free. 2.5 years, 2 months after the end of the Civil War. There's a whole history behind why specifically Texas was the state that happened. But what I realized was that we have waited to be equal since the inception of the United States. Did you get that? We have waited to be seen as equals, as immigrants, as women, as LGBTQ, all these things. We have waited for that since the inception of the United States because it wasn't meant for us. And so we need to acknowledge the history and legacy that has brought us to this point. We need to not fear it, but claim it, name it, and change it because we deserve better. We're not going to tolerate that anymore. And so now, people stood by and said enough was enough. People who were driven, who were taken, were not slaves. Slaves were taken from Africa. People who had destinies were taken from Africa. People who were kings and queens were taken from Africa. There were moms and dads who were taken from Africa. They became enslaved. And so then you change the destiny. Well, let me just say this. Now that we're here, we're going to change our own destiny. We're going to change our own destiny. And so I want you guys to think of this as a celebration. We are here to have fun. If you want to hoot and holler, I will hoot and holler with you. You know, I'm just saying, you don't know me. My name is Athena Jones. You won't have to hoot and holler alone. All right, so I'm going to introduce an amazing individual. Her name is Thomasine Wilson, and she is the SEIU. That's right, give it up for Thomasine again, please. Thank you. They have been trained well. Let me just say this. We went through a little training. Thank you, y'all. Thanks for remembering. SEIU Local 512 Home Care Chapter Chair, Ms. Thomasine Wilson.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to see so many beautiful faces in the house today. How many of you are new members? Raise your hand on the high, darling. Give her a hand. We had a new member to join this morning. Give her a hand. What is your name, honey? Raise your hand. Thanks for joining the family. As she said, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Thomasine Wilson. I'm the Home Care Chapter Chair of SEIU Virginia 512, the best union in America. And I've been a home care provider for over 20 years. Started out taking care of families, most of us do, and you're not knowing that you're going on into a full-time career, but it catches up with you. And many of us here have been advocating for justice and equity for an extremely long time. And that justice is give us what we deserve. Acknowledge us. And I say in 2021, see us. You need to hear us and see us. See us as the workers we are, as the qualified services that we provide. See us as that person that's showing love to your loved one, that's in your home so they stay in a safe place. Look at us as being quality workers, as being the best person that could be in the home with your family member next to you. Consider me your family member. Welcome, family. Home care workers today is all about you. It's not about me. Because I can be a big thing right by myself, but it's all about you. Give yourself a hand. So we have served on the front line of COVID throughout the entire pandemic, and we need to be recognized for being able to stay in the workplace. Some of us couldn't go home. We were trapped in those spaces for a long period of time, and we stood there on that job, trying to figure out how the pay was coming. But we did not give up on the care we were giving, on the people we have compassion and love for, on the people we support. We were there for them, and we'll continue to be there because we've been through the storm and rain. We've been through a whole lot in America, and I continue to say we are Americans in America. We're Virginians in Virginia. We make Virginia. Home care workers make Virginia. Give yourself a hand. You have to celebrate yourself, and nobody else celebrates you. Look in the mirror and celebrate yourself. You have to love you so you can give love to these people, and you have to be a compassionate caregiver to do this work. And you've got to have patience, because we go into homes and we are there for hours, tending to families, making sure they're staying safe. And I commend you, because this work is for those who have an overabundance of love in their heart. And this work is not going nowhere, and home workers are not going anywhere. All right, Amy. Also, we're keeping Virginia families safe, and today is the most beautiful day that we could celebrate this Juneteenth. Of those 250,000 people who had not even been told that they were free and had continued to work. And guess what? Those slave owners, they rushed on down to Texas so we can have some little communities that we can keep our little workers for us. So we're going to go and we all going to come together. We're not going to tell them that's our little secret. But guess what? The secret got out. So now we are those people who have gifts and talent and skills and businesses that we are bringing to this community, that we are bringing things, because a lot of this economy is not boosting because you're not acknowledging all of the people in the economy. Get on down into these neighborhoods where you are not acknowledging the skills that we have, because there are many skills and talents and gifts in these lower income communities, in these isolated communities, in these underserved communities. Those are taxpayer citizens regardless. And they are low income because your employees are paying you low wages. And we'll get on that in a few minutes. And I see so many familiar faces here. Hello, everyone. The new members and the old members. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. I'm just so glad to see us coming together, because we've been tied up in the house, caught up in so many things, and we have been really going through. A lot of people have been sick and everything, and some people have lost family members. We're glad to see that we're here surviving and holding on. So I want to welcome you once again, and I hope all of you are getting comfortable and getting settled in. Have you met new friends, and you're kind of mixing and mingling? But we're not shy in this unit. So on this Juneteenth, we're celebrating you, the workers, especially Black women who do this work and who do this work in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And this is a place that we did not want to acknowledge you. So like I said, give your hand for every opportunity that you can. And we have 5 paid sick days that the governor has made sure that we can get our time off to take care of ourselves. We have a president that saw that we were important. When I say see us, he saw that we were here, that we are caregivers, that he acknowledged us, and he got a work plan that's coming together for us to get an increase in pay. We want 15, but you can give us 20. We'll take it. And so have we been denied the protection that we need because of anti-Black hatred and systemic racism? That systemic racism, the laws that's on the book from Jim Crow that needs to come off, that'll free us up. A lot of things are riding on those laws. So if you're not voting, get out and vote. And make sure you talk to your legislators, see what they're going to do for you. Don't just hope. Talk to the people, have conversations. They're human. And we have been denied a lot of things, but we won't worry about the denials because we don't deny ourselves. And then I said, now we never stopped persisting. We're organized, we've lobbied, we've led the way, and we won many things. We just keep on winning. We won the PPE with the overtime, and we just 2 weeks ago got the 5 paid sick days. I was there at the governor's sign, and I was so glad to be a part of that action coming forward, because we see the train not inching along, but moving along quickly, and I'm glad to be on the train. And so for all of you who made calls and couldn't come out to events, I thank you for your support. And let me make this clear: we won because of not me. We won because of you, and you. Go ahead. Okay, and on this sunny day, we are honoring Juneteenth, and we are honoring the home care workers for our wins, and we're kicking off our racial justice and equity campaign, and for our collective bargaining. So we know that a tree can't grow without strong roots, and we are those roots. We're establishing the foundation for home care workers to truly thrive in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We need minimum wage for $15 an hour. We need quality health care, paid leave, and we really need 8-hour work days, not 10 and 12. We need a 40-hour work week. and an opportunity to have collective bargaining rights. Give a hand for collective bargaining. There you go. And so home care workers, this is only just the beginning. We elected the president who wants to work with us to provide billions of dollars in this care plan. And the union membership continues to multiply. We have almost 300 new members, just about a 265, a little bit over. And we are glad to have all of those members come in to help to strengthen up what we are already doing. So we're glad to have you pushing up. Because we are pushing someone in front of us and you're behind pushing up. So that's how we win. And lock hands and lock arms so we can continue to knock some walls down. And so we'll continue to come together, all races, cultures, generations, and all backgrounds. And we are joined today by our elected officials and allies and organizations. And together we will rewrite the law and force this Commonwealth to live up to its full potential for all people. And we are making history, and we're going to do it fearlessly and joyfully. So home care workers, because of you, the best is yet to come. Thank you. Union! Right! Union! Right! Union! Right!
People all across the country, brothers and sisters, are taking action for Juneteenth today. Take a look.
What does Juneteenth actually mean? And it hit me. It's not just a celebration of the end of a horrific moment in our history, slavery, but it's truly a celebration of saying that we are not truly free until we are all free. That's right. I'm gonna do a Erika Bland. Repeat that for me. We are not truly free until we are all free.
But when the COVID hit, I have a daughter that's a teacher. Couldn't pay her bills. So for me to have to work double shifts, to go home and try to create an income for myself just to make sure my child has a roof over her head and food in her stomach is not enough. We demand respect and dignity from our employers. We shouldn't be short-staffed. I shouldn't have to work 3 and 4 positions in one day.
That's right.
Just because you're too cheap to bring somebody else in. You want to save your money so you can get a bonus. What about us?
Right.
Next up, we have a message from Representative Donald McEachin.
Hi, I'm Congressman Donald McEachin, and I have the honor of representing Virginia's 4th Congressional District. I'm so pleased to be able to join the Service Employees International Union to discuss Juneteenth and the continued fight for equal rights for all Americans under the law. Recognized as the oldest celebration to mark the end of slavery in the United States, Juneteenth commemorates that day when enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas, finally received word from Union forces that the Civil War had ended and that they were free. Juneteenth is an opportunity to reflect on our nation's sordid history with slavery, to acknowledge and commemorate the progress that has been made, and to renew our commitment to advancing equity and justice in all aspects of American life. This week, I was pleased to vote for and help pass the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act to officially designate June 19th as a federal holiday. I had the opportunity to visit the White House and watch President Biden sign this historic legislation into law. For years, people across our nation have celebrated Juneteenth, and the progress and achievements of the African American community. This legislation was a long overdue step in commemorating Emancipation Day, and I was honored to be able to witness its signature by the President. Since the original celebration of Juneteenth in 1865, notable progress has been made in our nation. However, there's still so much work left to do to address institutional racism and glaring racial disparities that persist in so many facets of American life. Integral to the fight to ensure Black voices matter is the need to protect and expand voting rights. We are seeing more and more restrictive voting laws implemented in states across our nation. Since the 2020 election, nearly 24 laws have passed in state legislatures that would restrict access to the ballot box or make it harder for people to cast their vote. It is because of these suppressive actions that we need the House and Senate to pass H.R. 1, the For the People Act, and H.R. 4, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. The For the People Act is a sweeping campaign finance and election reform bill that would uplift the voice of American people by making it easier to vote, getting big money out of politics, and ensuring that public officials work for the public interest. The John Lewis Voting Rights Act would help restore and strengthen the Voting Rights Act of 1965 by reinstating pre-clearance requirements for any changes in election procedures. These requirements were removed from the law following the Supreme Court's ruling in Shelby versus Holder. We must also continue working to deliver change and ensure that Black labor matters. Black labor and Black women care in particular have been historically undervalued and underappreciated. Caseworkers, often Black, brown, and immigrant women, are caseworkers and among the lowest paid workers in our country, despite their incredible contributions to our nation. We saw this during the pandemic. President Biden's American Jobs Plan would provide historic investment in our nation's infrastructure and workforce while prioritizing the issue of racial justice and equity. His proposal includes long overdue protections and rights for care workers, which will help lead to a more equitable growth. I commend the President for his commitment to diversity and inclusion, and I look forward to helping him advance a comprehensive package that prioritizes our nation's infrastructure and our nation's workforce. Juneteenth is an opportunity for us to recommit to this fight for inclusion and equity. I applaud the Service Employees International Union for their continued commitment to protecting the dignity and worth of workers. We must continue the fight for more comprehensive and equitable protections under the law. If we all work together, I know this is possible. Thank you for allowing me to join you for this important discussion. Happy Juneteenth. May God continue to bless you.
Let's check out this message from Chairman Scott.
Hi, I'm Congressman Bobby Scott of Virginia's 3rd District, and I chair the House Committee on Education and Labor. I want to thank SEIU for inviting me today and for all that you do for our nation's workers. This year, I'm pleased that we're celebrating Juneteenth for the first time as an official federal holiday. On this day, 156 years ago, the last enslaved Black Americans were informed of their freedom. Since then, generations of Black leaders have fought to achieve the promise of racial equality. Yet we know the relics of slavery in our institutions are continuing to treat Black Americans as second-class citizens. Extreme voter suppression laws in multiple states are still depriving people of color, particularly Black Americans, of their right to vote. These laws are an assault on our democracy and our fundamental civil rights. In response, Democrats in Congress are continuing to advance key legislation that will ensure election security while protecting and expanding access to the ballot. The vestiges of slavery also remain in our nation's labor laws. When Congress first passed the Fair Labor Standards Act, or the FLSA, it sought to deny basic labor protections for Black people by excluding occupations, including domestic work, that continue to be overrepresented by Black workers. Unfortunately, these exclusions are still in the law today. That's why the committee recently held hearings to address the FLSA's discriminatory exclusions for domestic workers, farm workers, and tipped workers. And we're continuing our work to pass the American Jobs Plan. This proposal includes provisions from my legislation, the Direct Creation, Advancement, and Retention of Employment Opportunity Act, or Direct Care Opportunity Act, that would invest in reinforcing our direct care workforce, including home care workers. These are just a few of the committee's priorities to keep up the fight against racial discrimination as we commemorate Juneteenth. So please continue to make your voices heard. I look forward to working with you as we finally fulfill the promise of equality that Black Americans and all Americans have always deserved. Thank you.
We need everybody to demand that Congress finally raise the pay for community and home care workers and give them the right to a voice on the job with a union. Brothers and sisters, thank you for everybody who's taken action today. Don't forget to use the hashtag Black Women Care.